It's nice and dark in here, you like it? Hey YouTube, it's been a while. I don't post very often. I'm in New Zealand right now, we're in full lockdown. I intended to buy another lamp, and then I was lazy, and now it's too late, and everything's closed, and the world has ended, and I can't buy a lamp. And this is as good as it's just gonna look. One more update. I haven't posted much, but the few things I have posted have been reviews. This is a different Pure Clean model. I'll keep this quick, I promise. It sucks. It's the worst vacuum I've ever owned. It doesn't vacuum. It stopped working entirely. It's garbage. I can't, speaking of things being closed, I can't go buy another vacuum right now, and this place has not been vacuumed since lockdown began because this guy crapped out on me. So the carpet, be glad you can't see what's going on that carpet. Be glad this is a low resolution video because this carpet is a freaking jungle right now. Anyway, I've had a lot of time to do my own thing, and what my own thing has entailed recently is learning Unity. I'm big into VR right now. I'd never really gotten very far with it before. I'd always kind of hit some sort of a wall with it, and I was like, this is the time. The world is shut down. This is the time for me to focus. And you know what? It paid off. This video is partially to just be sort of a devlog and say, look at the cool things that I made, but it's also to say, hey man, if you also want to get into this stuff and you're intimidated, because it is easy to be intimidated by, there's a lot to learn, hopefully this will be an inspirational story for you. I was able to make a couple of pretty cool things in Unity without writing a single line of C# code, and you can too. That's basically what this video is about. I don't know what this video is about. This video is about me drinking wine at my desk and talking to myself. I'm an animator. Animation's been my main thing that I got trained in. I have only ever learned programming kind of on my own and on the side and here and there, and I'm not gonna be able to program a whole game from scratch on my own. So, Playmaker unlocks it all. Visual scripting, you don't have to type all your code out. You're sort of taking blocks and stringing them together with logic, and oh, it's good stuff. It's good stuff! There's also a thing called Bolt that's pretty popular right now, and everybody tells me it's possibly even better, so go give that a try. Can't comment on it, haven't tried it, don't know. Playmaker does cost money, but it's 100% worth it if you're into this stuff and you want to get going without being held up by your lack of C# knowledge. So, VR stuff. In Unity, there's kind of three big toolkits right now. So when I say VR toolkit, what I'm talking about is just these scripts that you get for free that you then can add on to things to make them interactable. There's VRTK, which is older, there's XR, which is newer, and then you've got the Oculus integration kit. I just was running into a lot of problems with Oculus integration, so I kind of just get rid of that one, forget that one. Because everybody said that VRTK is kind of getting phased out, that left the XR kit. I did the escape room, which is kind of the big, if you just search like XR toolkit on Unity Learn, I think it's like the first one you get. And just kind of used the setup from that and very quickly started deviating from what the tutorial was telling me to do and just kind of coming up with my own goals, and like that's where it gets fun, man, because I'm like, okay, I want to do my own animations. I want to do my own, you know, little creations and creatures and make them do all kinds of things. And so I had to break my goals into smaller goals. I'd make a checklist, like here I've got a little picture of Wheatley on a little pedestal there. And I was like, okay, I want to make like a version of Wheatley, something that like looks around like Wheatley, and you know, and you can pick it up and you could drop it and it would have physics to it. And let's break that into smaller goals. Number 1, I animated a thing and I got it into Unity. Boom, check mark. Number 2, I got it to play sound. That was the next thing.
Who's that down there talking? It's me!
Adding the XR grabbable script, which is something that comes with the XR toolkit. It's basically a component that you just stick onto the object and now it knows how to be grabbed, essentially. I animated some keep alive on him, so he's kind of like an eyeball that's kind of darting around a little bit. And I made him have physics, which was pretty simple. It was like just putting a rigid body on him. And then you had to, in the XR grabbable component, you had to tell it, like, when I let go, obey physics. It was just seriously like a checkbox, though. This stuff, if any of this stuff sounds too complicated and you're thinking about trying this, trust me, it's easier than it sounds. Sometimes he would just float off into space before I figured out the physics thing. That was pretty funny. Too bad I didn't record it at the time because I didn't realize it was going to be funny, but whatever.
Still here on the floor, waiting to be picked up. Look down. Who's that down there talking? It's me! Down on the floor, needing you to pick me up. I spy with my little eye something that starts with F. Do you give up? It was the floor. Lying down on the floor is where I am, needing you to pick me up.
What else did we learn? I want to be able to trigger animations at specific times. So I made a little jumpy guy. I'm curious to see. Whoa, he's not so little. Okay. Oh my god. He's enormous. Yeah, but he seems to have all the right pieces in the right place, so that's a success. So you could drop him in a little trigger zone, and when he detected that he was in the trigger zone, it would trigger his animator to play his jumping animation. Triggering something with the trigger zone is super easy. All you gotta do is go down here. I'm gonna name the first state waiting for trigger. And you put an event on there, a trigger event. And on the trigger enter, we'll say when the player enters the trigger, it'll send an event that I already named triggered. There it is. And then over here you put what you want it to do. So in this case, I'm gonna put animator play, and we don't have a rig in here, so I'll just pretend there was the name of the thing that we're gonna make animate right there. And then here are all the animation clips for the thing if we had a thing in the scene to animate. There's one there called attack, so I could say like, hey, buddy, when this trigger is triggered, go over here and play the attack. 01 is the name of that clip. And that's it. It's pretty simple. And the next thing I wanted to do was like, all right, I want a thing that moves on its own. And by moves on its own, I mean navigates the space, so it's not just waiting for me to pick it up. So basically, he's a skeleton boy that guards a treasure. He can detect when you're getting close to the treasure, and then he'll kind of look at you, and then if you actually touch the treasure, he'll come and chase you. And try to kill you, of course. This was the most ambitious. The skeleton guy. I guess I've just been playing Half-Life Alyx, and there's just something very fun in VR about being like pursued and chased by another character. Like there's Jeff in... Oh, Jeff is such a good character in Half-Life Alyx. He chases you around, and I was like, I want to make a thing that can chase me. I don't know, it seems like fun. So here's all the stuff that went into making the skeleton guy able to do all the stuff the skeleton guy can do. So I've got this big blue outer trigger, and then there's another trigger inside there around the box. So there's kind of two layers of how close you're getting to the treasure. So he's waiting for his triggers to be triggered, and then when one of his triggers is triggered, if it's trigger 1, he goes to watching player, and if it's trigger 2, he goes to attack. Let's say you just dip your hand in there, but you don't touch the second trigger. Then it goes back to a cooldown, and it waits for the cooldown amount of time, and then it adds a little bit of time to the next cooldown. So basically every time you touch that trigger, it's going to add a little more time that he's sort of annoyed and looking at you. So it gets the sense that he kind of remembered that you've already done this once. He's got a look at script on him, which is something I actually had to buy. You put this component on him that you can connect to different bones in him. So give it a game object to look at, to target, in this case, the player. You could basically go down each bone to make it so that it affects each bone to a smaller percentage. So it's like there's a nice blend down the spine. His spine is turning towards the thing that he's looking at. So that's for looking at the player. And then for the second part where he has to chase you, then I had to learn about nav meshes and nav mesh agents. And that's another one that, like, if you don't know about any of this stuff and it sounds complicated, I can lay it out real easy for you right now, okay? You basically select your floor and you tell it, make this the nav mesh, and then it detects like, okay, here's a wall, can't go there, and it's like, this is the zone where nav mesh agents can go. You take your game object, which is like your NPC, your enemy, whatever, and you stick it to the nav mesh agent, and the nav mesh agent just drags it around on the ground. Essentially, it's pretty simple. And the other thing you can do, it's kind of the most important thing, is you can set destinations in it. And that's yet another component that you can access in Playmaker. There's a component in Unity called an animator. It has these states that are all animation clips, and then it has rules for when it goes from one animation clip to the next. So it's usually speed-based for things like walking and stuff like that. So if he goes above a certain speed, if he goes above 0, he starts into his walk animation. If he goes above, I think he's like 2 or something like that, then he does his run animation, and then vice versa, it goes back down again. Little sort of flowchart thing. And then he's got other animations like attack that are used, you know, like I use it as a threaten animation. When he first sees that you're stealing the treasure, he like turns and he kind of swishes his axe, and then like if he gets close enough to you, he'll also swish his axe and like try and kill you. And those are not controlled within the animator finite state machine. Those were triggered from Playmaker, which can also trigger animations and override the animator. So it was a lot to figure out. Yeah, so he works. I guess I'm happy that he works. Quickly, at the last minute, I pulled in a bunch of other assets. I went on the asset store, I found a chest, I found a dungeon. I just kind of dressed it up a bit because I was like, I want to do a little recording of what I made and put it on Reddit or something, and it just looks very sparse as a bunch of like cubes. Because for most of the development, it was just a cube platform and a grid ground. Like all of the treasure chest and the background and everything was like very last minute. But it all kind of fit, it all kind of worked, so I'm happy about that. I did waste an entire, like nearly an entire day trying to make it so that you could open the treasure chest. It's weirdly hard in VR if you need to do something that's like, to open something that's on a hinge, like a door. When you open a door, like in the physical world, your hand's on a handle and that's forcing your hand to travel in a very specific arc following what that door can do from that hinge. But you don't have that restriction when you're doing that in VR, so it's like your hand can kind of like, it could sink through the door, it could go away from the door, and the door can't go anywhere because it's on a hinge. Like, what does the door do? And then it just is what happens. I followed a tutorial that explained a very complex way to make a door work, and it was like there were invisible handles on top of other handles, and it's needed for the physics to make sense of it all, and it was just like, okay, maybe the chest can just be open. Oh, it was a waste. It was such a waste of time. But it happens, man, it happens. You can go into something like this knowing little to nothing about it, and you can get pretty far, and you just gotta be willing to fight through those moments, man. Those moments. There were a lot of moments of triumph, but there were also a lot of moments of stomping around, swearing, going on ragey walks to blow off steam. It doesn't always go smoothly, but if you just keep coming back to it, man, yeah. That's that. I went from Unity 0 to Unity not quite hero, but someone who's pretty capable of making something in Unity that I'm happy with. Yeah, I'm happy with it, and I just hope to keep making cool stuff. It was fun. But anyway, yeah, that's my video. I don't know what I want you to get out of this besides inspiration, I hope. I have a playlist that I keep on my channel. It's mostly for me, but like totally dig in there, because every time I've found a tutorial along this journey that has been helpful to me, I have saved it. If you find this stuff interesting, if you're on the same journey, check out that playlist. It's called Useful Tutorials and such. It's all possible, man. It's all possible. Just keep going. Just don't give up. Exhausted just talking about this. It's been a journey, man. It's been a journey, and then COVID-19 has been, you know, it's been stressing me out. It's been stressing us all out. I'm having a time right now. Look at this. Do you see this? I haven't trimmed my eyebrows in ages because I normally have it done by someone who knows what they're doing. Look at that. Look at how much eyebrow there is on that eyebrow. And then I got this going on. Oh, and then I got this just doing its thing right now. It's just. Anyway,